You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. Hello and welcome to the Garibaldi Red Christmas special. My name is Matt Davis and we are joined by two former Reds players for an epic battle of wits, brain cells, whatever you want to call it. Darth Vader v Luke Skywalker, Jon Snow v Ramsay Bolton. It's all that kind of thing. I'll let you decide who's good and who's evil. So I should say who we're joined by. It is Reds legend Garry Birtles and former Reds player and Sky Sports presenter. And I'd love to say Reds legend, but I think he's going on Forest fans anyway.
Well, you can't sit next to Garry Birtles and I can't say with a straight face go Reds legend as well. Come on, I don't. I firmly know my place, chap.
Hold on a minute. I've got to stick up for him. He came through the academy, that golden era of the academy with Paul Hart. So people forget about that. For
those of you who are listening, David Prutton has entered into the Christmas spirit with a tremendous Christmas jumper, a Star Wars one. Unbelievable.
I mean, I don't know what Yoda's got to do with Christmas, but it was there and I got it. So wonderful, hey?
They stick Star Wars films on every Christmas, so don't they?
That's possible. Do you think this looks a bit like Chas McParland slightly? Just a little bit.
Hey, be careful there.
It's got shades of Chas on it. It's the same height. That's the main thing.
You're a brave man, aren't you?
But don't worry. I'll keep him well away.
I tell you what's annoying me at the moment. Christmas films aren't on the normal television. You can't get Elf. You can't get Home Alone 1. You can't get Miracle on 34th Street. You can't get. They're not showing them on normal television on normal channels.
It's the 14th, guys. It's not even Christmas yet, mate. Come on, there's a good week left before we go hell for leather.
I've looked right through the
Radio Times.
Absolutely. one they stick in a Sunday paper, they're not on. I can't miss Elf for Christmas.
I've just got this vision of you just ticking off over the next 2 weeks what you've got boxed off that you want to watch, just on a daily basis. Right, I've got that. You all the way through to the new year, I hope.
The only two I've got are White Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life. They're already recorded.
Classics.
You'll both want to know what you're playing for. I've got a very good prize in true bullseye style. This magnificent speedboat is up for grabs.
You soft sod.
For people who are listening, sorry, it's a Fireman Sam speedboat toy that belongs to my son. So I can't even really give it to you because he'll kick off if I do. So
I'm glad it's your son's and not yours. You're not some kind of secret modeler, are you, that does that kind of stretch?
No, definitely
not. That's his toy for the bath, isn't it? You can imagine him Matt in the bath with that, can't you?
Yeah, no, with his forest bath mat and towel on the side.
Yeah, no rubber duck for Matt.
No, these questions, I've told you about it before. I've already said before we start recording this, it's probably wasting Gary's favour, but you're both generous to give me enough of your time to do this at this festive season. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Shall we get going?
Of course.
Good. First question to ease you in is for Garry Birtles. Now, the answer's from Wikipedia, so you might dispute this and say it's dead wrong, Gary. But we'll ease you in the starter I'll give you 5 points if you get it exactly right, 3 if you get within 10, and 1 if you get within 20. What? How many games did you play for Forest?
I've got no idea. Absolutely. I don't know how many goals I scored, don't know how many games I played.
Well, you're not going to get the next question then.
This might kill the quiz.
I don't look at things like that. I just get on with it. I think I scored 99 goals. But
I'll give you 1 point because
400 and something, I don't know.
It says 212 here.
212? I played 136 games in 2 seasons.
No, friendlies don't count.
Okay.
He's a harsh quiz master, isn't he, guys?
Hey, they did to Brian Clough. Friendlies did count.
I know they did. Right, David Prutton, see if you know any better. How many games did you play for Forest?
I think this is going to make me sound slightly more narcissistic than Gaz, which, I mean, there's nothing new there at all, is there? Only because the only reason it sticks out in my brain, this rough number, was I remember thinking it would have been nice to get to a nice round 150 just before I left. But I think it's around 140.
Over 2 spells, it's 168.
Let's be honest. Does anyone count the second spell? I really, truly hope not, because that was a disaster, wasn't it? So let's discount that one.
Your bonus point question. You scored 9 goals for Forest. Did you get...
Just 90 less than Gaz. Brilliant.
Did you get more or higher or lower yellow cards in the 2000-2001 season? More yellows than 9.
Higher, more yellows.
How many?
I would go at least double figures, maybe up to about 13 or 14.
Good guess. You got 15 yellow cards in a
Legend.
season.
Legend.
Oh my God. Stick to what you're good at, Gaz.
Yeah.
If it's leathering people and shouting, do that. 15. My
I
God.
wish there were more people like you around now, kid. I'll tell you.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, let's be honest. If there were more people like me around now, there wouldn't be anyone on the pitch. We'd be banned all the time, wouldn't we? So...
Next question is for Gary. How many points did Forest win the league title with?
I didn't even play in that team.
It's a legendary Forest season. 2
Yeah,
points
but I
for a
didn't play. I
win.
didn't play one game in that league in that season.
It's your era.
Yeah, but why would I notice or remember something that I had nothing to do with?
Was it still just as a rough way of trying to find out this is the guess? It was still 2 points for
2
points for a win then.
To win.
Well, we went unbeaten for 42 games, didn't we, over 2 seasons? So, oh, my word. When we played, was it 42 games in those days we played? I would say around about 70 points.
A good guess. I'll give you a point for that. 64.
Ooh.
And for a bonus point, how many points did Forest win the title by ahead of Liverpool? Which is going to be a guess because you don't know. But
6 or 8.
Oh, which one are you going to say?
Ooh, come on, Gaz.
I'll go for 6.
No, it's 7. But I thought I'd just...
Come on, you've got to get a point for
I
that.
can give you a point for that because that's a good guess. I'm going to give you a point for that because I'm generous. Question for Prutton. Now, you did play Forest this season, but left halfway through. How many points did Forest get in 2002, 2003 when they made the playoffs?
I think I'm going to go for similar to what Gary's guess was. I'm going to go around the 70-point mark.
It was 74. So you were close, but I can't give you a point for that. But your bonus point question, this is stretching your knowledge. Who won the championship title that season?
Oh, Christ.
They had a very good team.
Is that meant to be a clue?
They won it by a lot.
A good team won the league. Funny that.
They're a southern team.
I'll go for Reading.
Portsmouth. It was that Portsmouth team. Do you remember Redknapp? Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Matt, can you give me any more clues?
Right. Next question's a Christmas question. And the answer's decided by me based on what you say. So you've got to argue which is the best TV Christmas show. Which is your favourite TV Christmas show? And I'll give a point to the winner. The one I think is the best answer.
Well, no soaps. Not soap. I haven't seen a soap in about 15 years. Gogglebox is good, and Mrs. Brown's Boys. I do like a bit of Mrs. Brown's Boys. I've been switching over to Mrs. Brown's Boys to avoid watching Forest at times because it's depressing me that much.
There's no counter argument needed for Mrs. Brown's Boys, surely.
Don't knock it.
I tell you what I'm going to go for, only because I saw it again recently off the back of it being on last year. And that decade apart between the last episode and this Christmas special, I thought Gavin and Stacey was very, very good. I mean, I'm not talking
about that. Yeah, I'm with you there, Prutz.
We're not going for the full kind of Morecambe and Wise shows for the ages type thing, but I thought it was of our particular recent era. I thought that was pretty well done and left on a nice little cliffhanger as well. So that's what I'll go for, and I'll kick myself when I get off this when I remember something way more interesting and funny and witty. But that's the one that's springing to mind.
I will go with Gavin and Stacey. I was thinking Royal Family or Only Fools and Horses. They always did good Christmas shows.
2 very good classics, yeah.
I watch them every day, though. It's not Christmas. They're on every day.
You know, the Royal Family Christmas special?
On Gold. I've seen them about 100 times during the year. You know, they put them on at any time. They're putting Home Alone on in August now. So, you know, it's not...
That's when you should record it, Gaz. Then you won't need to look at your radio times for
exactly.
scheduling.
That's a good point.
So what I'll say is, just to clarify mine, because I think it's a nice mixture of comedy and you can't call it drama, can you? It's very light, it's very soft, and it's got a bit of an emotional punch to it, which I think is quite nice, especially at Christmas time, because we can often get very melancholic, can't we?
Exactly. Right,
another word of the day. You've got a dictionary in front of you there.
It's a long word, you know that.
No, well, yeah, you know what, you know why it's there, lads. It fills in that space between me having to actually explain stuff and give reasons for things. Chuck a long word in, move swiftly on, and then we've forgotten the point that I was attempting to make.
So after 5 rounds, David is winning 5 points to 2. So you've got work to do. David, Prutz.
David, eh?
You're coming out with some stupid questions about stats. The one man who hates stats more than anybody else is me. I don't look at stats.
Oh, well, you're not going to like the next round then. Is we're going to play your cards right with your teammates.
I'm going to disconnect in a minute.
1978-79 season, Gary, which I'm hoping you do remember.
Yes.
Do you remember that one? Good.
Well, it depends. I mean, there was a lot of celebrating done that year, so...
Yes, well, yeah, fans still remember it and still love you for it. Higher or lower appearances in the 1978-79 season. So, Trevor Francis made 21 appearances that season. I want you to tell me, did Kenny Burns make more appearances or less appearances than 21?
More.
Correct. He made 37 appearances. Viv Anderson, higher or lower than 37?
Ooh.
I would say higher with Viv. He was a lazy runner. He was a great sprinter, but a really bad trainer. But I would have said more.
Correct. 59 appearances.
Yeah.
Next one, Garry Birtles, higher or lower than 54?
Higher.
Incorrect, 54. So you don't get a point for that one.
What?
This is what the stats tell me, which I know you hate.
Yeah, I think that's totally unfair because, as I say, I played all in all 136 games in those 2 seasons.
That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. So, sorry to take this on a slight tangent, Matt, away from the quiz, but and without us sounding like players from yesteryear, guys, but when you hear people talk about convoluted schedules and players being out on the feet and these huge squads, I can tell by the look on your face what your answer is. You're giving short shrift.
Jurgen Klopp keeps banging on about it. Hey, Prutz, it's a privileged position any player is in. Kids out there would give their back teeth to play football professionally. We were lucky, and I was privileged to play football. And I was tired, yes, at the end of the season, yes, at the end of a game, because the pitches were shocking. But, what a career to have and to be lucky enough to have, instead of moaning about how tired you are all the time. Tired is doing 12-hour shifts at hospitals. That's tired. Don't give me all that rubbish about, tired, they've had this, they've had that, the scheduling's wrong. Don't tell them they're tired, because they'll be tired. Absolute rubbish.
Can't disagree with that, mate, at all.
I'm going to bring it back to this quiz, which I know you're loving, Gary, just to finish this round. Yeah. The last 2 names, as we left it on this thrilling thing, which you disagreed with. You played 54 games that season, 78-79. Larry Lloyd, higher or lower than 54?
I'm going to say lower, but you'll tell me higher now.
I will tell you higher. He played 55 games that season, so 1 more than you. And we'll finish with Ian Bowyer, higher or lower than 55?
That's difficult because we had so many midfield. We had Archie Gemmell in there as well. Bomber hardly ever got injured. He injured a lot of people, but he hardly got injured himself. A bit like you, Chris.
But what a lovely fella, though, Bomber. I mean, softly spoken. I mean, when he could lose it, he could lose it. But I remember when he came in with Paul and one of his assistants, it was just so unassuming. And then it's funny, that thing with Forest, isn't it? When you kind of join as a young kid and then you see, I remember Larry Lloyd coming in, this big strapping fella. I mean, he was big when he was playing football, so obviously post football, he was quite a big chat, and he's always coming in getting stuff signed. And you'd see John McGovern on match days and players like yourself, Gaz, as well, just kind of in and around the place. And it's only when you get past yourself as a young footballer and you really delve. I mean, I obviously knew what Nottingham Forest was about, and the more recent touchstones was Psycho in the cup semi-final. I mean, the kind of goals and he scored and in the cup final, and how wonderful that team was. But coming in and kind of double taking and thinking, again, the goldust of having actual proper footballers and legendary figures, not only in Nottingham, but in English football, in European football, just there. One, you know what I mean? Part of the matchday experience, part of the fibre of the club. And it's something that I don't know how football clubs operate nowadays. I hope still that's the same. You know what I mean? Those people that really make it famous and what it is, that gives you the privilege to play for them, that means that they're still allowed in and around and being part of what's going on.
Anyway, Bowyer.
But anyways, appearances, go on.
Less.
Correct. He only played 40 games, which makes me think, was that the one area? Well, was that the one area, Gary, that you recall the manager might freshen it up a bit, the centre of midfield, do you think, or not?
Well, we had that many good players in that position. You know, that was the thing. And that season, we got to League Cup finals, we got to European Cup finals, all the league games. So we only had 15 players in the squad. So you would have to try and at times, adapt and change things around a little bit. I thought these questions, I could name you the Grimsby side I played with and got promotion with. I thought it was going to be things like that. I could name them to a man. And you're giving me, how many games did you play? Do you play more than that?
It's a Forest one.
That is quite niche, though, Gaz. You do understand that on a Forest podcast. You told us the Grimsby side.
No, he said about careers. Your careers.
Oh, right, sorry.
There's a question like that coming. You'll be pleased to know it's a Forest one. Right, David Prutton.
Yes, David, go on.
Higher or lower for you? Play your cards right. Academy graduates for Forest.
Okay.
So we've established that you played 168 games. Wes Morgan, higher or lower?
Oh, Premier League title winning Wes Morgan.
Yes. Did he play more games for Forest than 168?
And bless him again, sorry for the tangent, but if you'd have told me the lad in the corner of the Forest dressing room would go on to conquer the Premier League, I'd have not laughed in your face, but I'd have questioned the sanity of perhaps what you were talking about. Lovely, lovely fella, but what a career he managed to go. Just I think he's admitted himself that being in a position where he was at his local club and things were relatively straightforward, he wasn't looking after himself in the athletic point of view, if you know what I mean. But once he got that nailed down and brought the professional side of being a footballer to the talents that he already had, what he managed to carve out for himself was absolutely phenomenal, and I've got so much respect for what he did. I'm trying to think that kind of time frame of him being at Forest. I'm going to go for lower.
No. He's the record holder. I've given the next answer away there. Yeah. He played 400 games for Forest.
That went lower. Oh my God! What a poor start that is.
Right.
He very rarely missed a game for Leicester, did he? He was
and
he threw.
I don't remember him ever being injured. Has he ever been really injured?
Well, maybe I thought he went earlier to Leicester. Maybe that's where I've got that right. So he's the record from the academy into the first team. He's the record appearance holder. That's amazing.
I'll give you the answer away. He actually played for Forest for 10 years. He didn't leave till 2012.
My God, that shows my utter selfishness of when I came back for the second time and then left. I just kind of buried my head and forgot everything that was there. That's possibly what that was. Well played, Wes. That's amazing.
James Perch, higher or lower? I've given the answer away, so you know what it is.
Perchy again was another lad that was very rarely injured. If I remember my time at Forest. So was he higher than me or higher than Wes or lower than Wes?
Lower or higher than Wes?
Lower then. Hopefully my brain works. Yes.
222. That's teammate of yours from the great Paul Hart days. Gareth Williams, higher or lower than 222?
Lower.
Correct.
Yeah, because I think Gaz moved on, didn't he? Then he had that knee injury,
a bad injury.
Pretty much saw him off. I think. Wasn't it? Very talented player though.
Yeah, great passer of the ball, tremendous vision.
Well, we had to have someone in midfield that could pass.
I was going to say the talent in midfield in that team. Another player from that era, Andy Reid. No, he had two spells, didn't he?
So higher or lower than
Gareth Williams? Than 155.
Higher.
Correct. 290.
Why do you keep giving him clues? You've not given me one clue in any of the questions.
It's only because he saw how bad I got the first part of that question. Did I think I had more appearances than Wes Morgan, the record appearance holder from the academy? My God.
Last one is Ben Osborne. Higher or lower than 290?
Do you know what? I'm going to go lower.
Correct. He's got 229. He played a lot of games as well. He came through very early. Right. A Christmas question, which I know you're going to love, Gary. What is the best Christmas song? And I'll give a point to the one I think is the right answer.
Wow. Brilliant. Look, great question. So vague and open.
Fairy Tale of New York.
That's a good answer, and I like that. You're going to have to go well to beat that.
The other one that always gets overlooked for me is Greg Lake. I believe in Father Christmas.
I believe in Father Christmas.
It's brilliant.
Is that the one with the harpsichord at the start? Yeah.
Yeah. You both like your music. I know that. So I'm interested to see what you say.
Well, this is going to be utterly predictable, but as soon as you ask that question, that same sentence of title of song, which Gary just said, Fairy Tale of New York, just jumped up in my head. It's a phenomenal piece of music, which, as again, like I said with Gavin and Stacey, encompasses all that Christmas is, full of optimism, full of hope, and then getting kicked in the knackers at the end of it. So it's, yeah, I think it sums it up perfectly. And once that kicks in, the sad thing is now,
altering all the lyrics, yeah,
exactly. But and also the fact that you probably hear it late October in shops, so you kind of stand there and go, "Oh, come on! It's going to be at least December and a bit colder now to be able to get through it." But that for me, I also like the Darkness one, which was probably in the last 5 or 10 years. Which,
don't mention it, man. Good, you've gone right down in my estimation now. The Darkness.
Well, but it's cheese, isn't it? Cheese and Christmas go together hand in hand. And mistletoe and wine, tune.
Well, you were both correct. I thought Fairy Tale of New York as well. Although I'm going to give the point to Gary because Prutty went off on some weird tangent about mistletoe and wine and all sorts of stuff.
He should be -5 for all that.
To be fair, I'd take a deduction on the chin there, I'll be honest.
Penultimate question. Now it's a stats question, Gary, so you're going to hate it. But it is about a legend, the greatest manager of all time. So it's a question about Brian Clough's playing career. This will demonstrate how good he was because young fans won't know this, I reckon. How many games and how many goals did Clough score in a career that was shortened by injury? And I'll let Gary go first because he hates stats questions.
I thought it was 200. I thought it was 250 odd, and he scored 150 odd goals or something daft like that.
And what's your guess, Protz?
I know the ratio, his goal scoring ratio was utterly ridiculous, wasn't it? And he was quite quick, wasn't he, early doors to remind people of just how good a player he was. I think when he went first into management, he might have carried on doing that, guys. Is that what he was? So not just when he first went into management, he was constant.
But that was what was so good about him. You sat and listened because he was so good at what he did in my position. Yeah. So it was just a great learning curve.
I'll go for 200 appearances and 125 goals.
No, it's better than that. You're both sort of close on appearances. 222 games, and he scored 204 goals in his career.
Oh, dear me.
I know.
My God.
Imagine how many England caps he would have won if he played for.
But I tell you what, as well, these are those sliding doors moments, aren't they? Because if it hadn't been cut short, if he'd have managed to get a long, wonderful playing career, Gary might not have come across the manager that he became. You just never know, do you? So on the one hand, something got cruelly taken from him, but on the other hand, what he pushed out into the world from a managerial point of view was just sublime, wasn't it?
What advice did he give you, Gary, in terms of being a striker?
Make your mind up early. You know, when you like one-on-one, especially, make your mind up early, and just get your head over the ball. You know, like any sport, he said, if you're playing snooker, head over the ball, keep still. Cricket, get your head over the ball, watch the ball, and, hit the target. Just make sure you hit the target.
Would he have, during the course of training, we've all seen managers that like to join in or fancy themselves a little bit. Was he still physically in a position to do it? If he wanted to show you something, could he say, well, just do it like this, or this is what I'm after, or maybe not in quite genial terms, but could you still see it?
He never came.
About him literally just kind of on a Friday and wandering around.
But now he had a stroll down with Pete Taylor and their dogs, and that was it. Then he used to say, right, through the nettles. So you got 22 grown men running through nettles, and the manure where the groundsman had dumped all his stuff in the corner of the training ground. Then he'd shout the last one in the five-a-side goal, and you see 20 grown men trying to throw themselves in a five-a-side goal. You just did it, because it was him, sort of thing. But no, he never complicated things, Prutz. He always kept it simple. Respect your opposition, but you're better than them. And, to go out on a pitch with those things in your mind, he said, do what you're good at, not what you're not good at. That's all I ask of you. And when you hear somebody say that, it clears your mind. You've got nothing in your mind apart from right. He said that to me, and he said, just give me 100%. He said, I'll carry you off at the end of the game if you give me 100%. It was basic. It was good, and it was... it was good for everybody because it didn't complicate things. Players now, I think, go out with too many things in their mind in the modern game. They're too.
But that'd be dressed up, don't you think, guys? As psychology now, that would be how that would be classed nowadays. Whereas it seems relatively, and the genius is in the simplicity of the message, isn't it? Yes, you need good players. Yes, you committed individuals, but to make people feel 10 foot tall to go on a pitch and it's still, I never get, and obviously we have got a slightly vested interest when we're discussing this, but when you look at, I believe in miracles as well. I mean, the film you took part in, to get from where Forest were to where he took them, and then how he left them, and the legacy that he leaves, it is Hollywood standard storytelling because of where it came from, who he got there with, and how glorious it was. And that is that a measure of the man's just innate charisma and magnetism, because that's what you seem to get. I love watching, like, digging into YouTube, and I've told Matt about this. It's not only about music, but seeing his old interviews and the way he just thoroughly dominated situations by the sheer force of personality that he had.
I don't think it gets as much praise as it should do, what he achieved, because
it was staggering what he did.
The size of Nottingham, it's not big. You can walk across it in 20 minutes. And, for somebody like Mourinho to come up, and tell nobody he was coming up just to see how a team like Forest managed to win 2 European Cups, and saying you couldn't believe the size of the town, it's just incredible. And, it was a joy to play under him and Taylor, because you never knew from one day to the next what was going to happen. You couldn't wait to go in to find out what they were up to next. They'd walk you up the river and buy you a coffee, and come back down. You think you're going to run. He said, "Right, I'll see you. This is Monday morning. I'll see you on Thursday, and give you 2 days off." And how much did that left to play? Crap, I've got 2 days off here. And then that made you come back all. You couldn't wait to get back. You couldn't wait to train. You couldn't wait to play. Instead of being laborious and thinking, well, we're in every day. This is getting a bit boring. He never made it boring. He always made it enjoyable, and he very rarely punished you for bad performances. It was just a joy to be around. And some players at a particular time said, "Oh, we couldn't play for Clough because he's a dictator, he's a tyrant." Couldn't be further from the truth. It was, a delight to play, and I can't speak enough of what it did for me as a person. What it gave me mentally, strength-wise. And it really helps in these times. With a pandemic, people talk about mental health, and a lot of people are struggling with it. And luckily enough, that gave me that mental strength to hopefully get me through, what's going on now. So not just football, everything. He bought everything. He cared about your family. He cared. He bought magazines in for the wives and things like that. On match days, he sent them flowers. It wasn't just about the football. It was about bringing a club together, everybody at that football club, not just the players, the backroom staff as well. And that's what Nigel does, his lad. When he goes to football clubs, he's inclusive of everybody. He's learned, from his dad in that respect. So, and people respond to that. Players respond to that. And the community of football respond to that at every football club. So, not just football, the whole picture. And he always used to say, remember who you are, where you are, and who you represent. And that stuck with me all through my life.
It's phenomenal fundamentals out there for the way to live a life. Exactly.
And I was lucky that my parents brought me up the same, and I hope I brought my kids up to think exactly the same. It gives you that insight, to be able to go and do those things. And, it's a complete package with him.
Was Paul Hart similar with you young lads coming through, Prutz, in terms of how he wanted you to live your life? And also, obviously, he played a very adventurous brand of football. I mean, he must have, had to imprint that on you. Must have been a very good man manager, mustn't he?
He was really good. He was at times terrifying, but also so empathetic and sympathetic to what we as a bunch of lads were adolescents at the time. You move away from home. You're in a very competitive environment. Not that you know it, because what he bred was a real team ethic. We kind of felt that if any of us are going to make it in professional football, we've all got to pull together, and we catapult on the lads that are always going to make it. You know what I mean? And there was that real competitive edge to the side, but there was nothing. There was nothing sinister in the way that the lads went around training. There was no. Yes, we were all fighting for individual shirts, but there was a real camaraderie with that, and seeing each other through, and taking a real joy in lads getting into the first team, and seeing that as that carrot that's dangled after being in the youth team. And I think what Paul managed to inherit from someone like Brian was that sense of keeping you, like Gary was saying, there was days when you didn't know what was going on. There was days when you'd come in and you'd think, oh Christ, what's up with him today? And but that got everybody on edge, but on edge in a good way. So there was no levels getting dropped in training. There was nobody lagging behind in any form of running at all. It's funny because it makes me think of him now when, as everyone else has started doing when we've been at home for quite a long time, you start going running and all that, just ticking over. And I've got, you get your music on and you're checking your time on your phone and all this type of stuff. And you're thinking, it's not bad. And then you kind of think, what did we used to do in pre-season? So you get back the first day of pre-season, you'd do a 2-mile run, whether that was nine, that ended up being about 9 laps of the City Ground track, which was like that clay court at Roland Garros, you know what I mean? Sliding around the corner, and you had 25 young lads, hell for leather, batting it around there. And we used to do it in like 11 and a half minutes. The first day of pre-season, the first day you'd come in, you had to be fit. If you weren't fit,
that's brilliant.
You were in trouble, but it goes back to exactly what Gary was saying. It bred competitiveness, but there was a real enthusiasm and just an absolute joy. And there was no other concerns in our young lives. It was about being as good as we possibly could, impressing Paul, who in turn passed the information up the food chain to see if you could get anyone in the first team. But I think without him being there, me and several other players of that ilk that came through could quite easily be sat here thinking, what if, over the course of being, whether we were going to be professional footballers. Yes, you've got to have that inner drive. Yes, you've got to have that backing of your family and the unconditional love, which I absolutely had in abundance, which I will forever be grateful to my family for. But meeting him at that specific time in my life catapults you on, and he was a glorious fella to spend time with.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he was frightening, Prutz. You want to play
he was, wasn't he?
He's the nicest bloke off the pitch you could ever wish to be with. But I played against him a few times, and you could guarantee first 10 minutes I'd be on my backside in the centre circle, and he'd be looking down at you with a smile on his face. And he told you he was going to do it, but you knew he was going to do it.
And the great thing was, though, I mean, he obviously big, imposing physical presence.
So you could
my God, his ability on the ball. I mean, you talk about it seems to have been or it appears to have been a recent invention, doesn't it? A ball playing centre half, which we obviously know is a load of rubbish, because those players of that type of ilk and generations before were on worse pitches with people that could leave the foot in, which could, it was a real battle, but they still managed to play glorious football from the back.
Kenny Burns was the same. I mean, he played up front, so it's a bit different. But Clough, I can remember one game, Harty's first game, ball's come in the box and Harty's chested it down and cleared, calm as you like. And Clough said afterwards, "That's why I bought you." And Harty could do that. He could do both. And we always say, I had a chat with Harty about when he got the ball, what I was going to do to help him out. Like come towards it and then spin. And he said, I've never had a striker come and talk to me about, what he wants to do. But
I bet he loved that. I bet he loved it, didn't he?
But he said, I've never had that. And, I did it. I came towards the ball, then span, and you put it over the top. Because the centre half gets too tight on you, and you just roll him, and then you're in behind. So it's all about.
What was it like as a teammate, Gaz? I mean, you talk about that kind of that professional element of being a footballer, but just as a lad in the dressing room of a certain age, what was it like?
He was brilliant, absolute different class. He was a wind-up merchant. He was a joker. He got the whole lot. He got the full spectrum. I talk to him quite often at the moment, and he's loving it down at Luton. He said, we've got a great bunch of lads there. He said, we've got the smallest budget in the Championship. He said, but what a great bunch of lads. They just go for it, And I think, he's instilled that sort of thing into them, with his job there. He's a great man to have alongside you, as maybe as a number two.
Well, that's the thing that really, I think the last time I got in touch, and I think I said something along the same lines, and tongue in cheek, of course, I said, never thought I'd see the day when you became the good cop to somebody's bad cop, because he was the man that absolutely, his word was law. Nobody went against it. And absolutely right, you've got to have somebody in charge, because it's clear, as you've alluded to, that any group of individuals that are working in an organisation, yes, I understand the democratic process of people leading each other, but I always think it needs somebody there at the top to say, well, you might all think that, and that's what we're doing, great. Or you might all think that, and we're not doing that, we're doing this, because I've told you that, and this is the way it's going. And he was wonderful at that. And I'd be so intrigued to see what he's like now with seeing what Nathan Jones, and how fiery and how passionate he is, and whether he's there to be the kind of temperature regulator, the touchstone for the players, which I'd be fascinated to see that evolution of him as that particular character.
Yeah, could well be. And one of the funny stories about him, we went to that Australian trip. He was on that Australian trip. And we were there for 3 weeks, and he pulled a muscle going up the steps of the plane at Heathrow. Never kicked
on the way there.
Yeah, never kicked a ball for 3 weeks. He loved it. He was winding us up. Yeah, pulled a muscle going up the steps of the plane. Never kicked a ball the whole trip. He was on the Fosters and the
free holiday,
the 4X and everything. Yeah, just winding us all up. Brilliant.
Excellent. Right, let's finish this quiz with the final round, and a round I think Gary will.
Christ, we've got a quiz doing, guys. I forgot the quiz.
We've got one more round. We've got one. Last round, Prutz is leading 7 points to 9, but I think this is where Gary turns it round and wins
7 points to 9. How can he be leading 7 points to 9?
Frightening. I know. After 47 questions each.
9-7.
Yeah, I'm going to say can't be leading 7-9.
So what I want you to do is name the lineup from a memorable game in your Forest career. Oh. It was harder to find one for Prutz than Gary, I must say. So the game is the 1979 League Cup final, Gary, which I think went quite well for you personally, if you can recall.
Yeah. Oh, somebody was injured that day, and you only had one sub in those days. You didn't you?
Yes, and you scored twice.
I scored 4 times.
4 times?
I scored 4 on that day, and the linesman robbed me of a hat.
Okay.
4 goals I scored at Wembley. And
Jesus.
The last one, I'd picked the ball up, gone around the keeper, put it in the net, and then he puts his flag up. And I went berserk. We were told never to ever go at referees under Brian. And he disallowed it. And the first one came across the face of the goal, tapped it in. It was level, but in those days, level was just offside. And even then, it didn't look offside. So I'm absolutely livid that I was, denied a hat-trick at Wembley. But hey-ho, things like that happen. If VAR had been there, they'd have probably said, right, they're offside anyway. But...
Oh, crap. But let's be honest. Would VAR have cleared it up? Possibly not. We'd still be arguing about something else, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, they wouldn't have been able to have that line because the pitch on that game, it had snowed. And they had to clear the pitch. There's piles of snow on the side of the pitch in March. Jeez. So the pitch was a bog. Wembley was a bog. So VAR would have had no chance. The team,
yes. So, a point per name.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Shilton, in goal. I'm not sure Viv played, actually. Don't think he did.
Shilton's correct, yeah. So who's the right back?
Wasn't Colin Barrett, was it?
Correct. It was Colin Barrett.
I think Colin played on the other side. Yeah, Frank at left back.
Correct. We're doing well here. Yeah.
I think was that the Wolves game that Needham played in the Wolves game because one of the centre halves was injured. I'll go Burns and Lloyd.
No, your memory's a little foggy there. It was Needham. Needham did play in that one.
Needham played against Wolves when Andy Gray scored that goal. I don't think he played in the first one against Southampton.
No,
so he played in both of them. Yeah, he played in both.
Yeah.
I only thought he played in one.
Kenny was not involved in this game.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we're on to the midfield now and wingers.
Yeah, Robbo, obviously. Martin on the right.
Yeah.
I think Archie played, didn't he, in that one?
Correct, yeah.
Gemmell and John McGovern.
Yeah, which just leaves...
Me and Woody up front.
Correct. So you only got one wrong there. Can you name the sub?
That's amazing.
Who would the one sub have been?
If Bomber wasn't injured, it would have been him, I would have thought.
Yes, it was. So he was the unlucky one to miss out. It's mad, isn't it? To think there was only one sub. Like today, you'd have 6 other blokes on the bench. You'd get a winner's medal.
Yeah.
And all those players missed out. Right, that puts you on 17 points. Which
that's phenomenal, guys. I mean, no matter what game you're going to tell me here, Matt, I would struggle to get this. Go on.
You will. This is your Forest League debut, September 1999. I'm hoping you remember this. There's some absolute rotters in this team.
Bristol City away.
Bolton away.
That's a good start, Prutz.
Well, Bristol City was a cup tie. I thought I've given you the league game because managers tended to play a few kids and all that. So Bolton 3, Forest 2, September 99.
We had a strong team for that Bristol City. Oh God, when was this?
September 99.
I've been retired 7 years.
September 99, eh? In goal, it was either Bess or Norm. Oh, God. I'm going Dave Besson in goal.
Correct.
Oh, that's a solid start.
Right back.
Right back. Thierry Bonelaire.
No, I think he played. I'm going to have to look that up.
I used to clean his boots.
Did you?
I did, yeah. And do you know what, Gaz? This'll get the fire in your belly going. Didn't tip me at Christmas, the tight sod.
You are joking. I used to tip really well.
I sweated blood. I sweated blood for Thierry's boots. Didn't just said thanks and walked off. Yeah.
Well, he did play. He did play. He played in midfield, so you get a point for that. So it's a different right back. Yeah.
My God. Right back then at the time for Forest. I think it was pre-Matty Louis-Jean as well. This is me not giving you answers. This is me thinking out loud before Gav says, I'm fishing for clues.
He'll keep giving you clues. He's clearly on your side this morning.
No, I want Gary to win. You know, I've always said, didn't I say to you that Gary's my favourite former Forest player?
You did. He did. Yeah,
live on the podcast.
He did. He had no qualms about crushing my feelings at all. So back three. I'm going to name. If it's a three, then it's a slightly more interpretive. Surely.
We've only got 4 minutes left, Prutz.
No, I can't. John Helder.
Correct. He did play.
Gee whiz. This will make great lists.
So I give you a shot.
Go on then, me. Go on then. That might help. Chris Bart Williams.
No, he did not play in midfield.
Oh, God, he used to give me absolute pelters all the way through games and all the way through training. I don't think I ever did anything right in his side. Andy Johnson.
No, it must have been not his time. Must have left by then. No,
Jono, really? So I'm going to go Alan Rodgers.
Correct.
Dougie Freedman.
Correct. Other striker
at the time. Jono. I don't think Jono was there at that time. Or was he? David Johnson?
No, it was just before his time, wasn't it?
Oh.
So you've missed out there. I'll tell you who it was because you can't get it now. It was Ian Wright.
Oh, great. And bizarrely, I bumped into Wrighty last night at work, who I did that thing of, as we all do, send hello to somebody with a mask on, and he gave me the very generic, somebody's saying hello to me at work, and walked past. So Mark after him, pulled my mask down and went, Righty, for Christ's sake, mate. Oh, you Prutz, you're right. I was like, yeah, cheers, mate. But he'd done it in front of about 10 people in reception, so everyone was like, you don't know Ian Wright. I was like, I promise I do. Like, pathetically ran after him, like an absolute nerd. Right, so Righty was up front. I'm missing half the team, aren't I?
You've got 6 right at the moment, and you've got a couple wrong. So you've got. I'll give you. Yeah, but he's not. I don't think you can get him anymore. I'll give you a guess at a centre half.
Another centre half.
And a central midfielder.
Chet wasn't still there, was he?
No, not Chet. It was one of the Italian disasters, Matricano.
Oh, Matricano. So does that mean that Petracchi was in midfield as well then?
No, Petracchi was injured. He was always injured, wasn't he?
Well, I think I've told you before that when he came jogging on the pitch at Carrow Road for the warm-up in just his slips and his shorts and socks, completely forgot to put his shorts on. So there's horrible little white slips that we used to wear. Comes running out of those, and it was like, "Can you put your pants on?" Oh, sorry, ran back in. I'm struggling with this. This is shocking, and I think. Do you know what I'll do to mitigate my circumstances? All the players that Gaz mentioned, legends. Mine are varying degrees of legend. Hence the fact I can't remember. Go on.
Here's another one quickly for you about team sheets. We played Notts County at Notts County, and the team sheet was. They got the Anderson and Smelt the wrong way. Can you remember Lee Smelt in goal?
Yeah.
And he went Anderson Smelt Burns arse. Because Einer arse, and he went They got them. What's the name mixed up? So it went Anderson Smelt Burns arse. Always tickles.
That's akin to the batsman's holding the bowlers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, I'm going to put you out of your misery and tell you the rest of this team.
Go on, tell me.
So it was Louis-Jean. Skimmicker.
Oh, I'm sure I said Matty.
No, you said it was before Matty. You actively said I'm not giving an answer here to that one.
I thought Ricky as well, but I thought it was before Ricky. Go on.
No. Quasi was the other midfielder.
Ricky, yeah.
And then on the bench, because we've done the whole team now, on the bench was Mark Goodlad, who I'd forgotten ever played for Forest.
Goody, yes.
Yeah. Manini, the other Italian centre-half, Bernard Alou, Carlos Mourinho,
Yeah.
Marlon Harewood.
Carlos, a good player, Carlos, and I forgot about Marlon as well. I just presumed away from what the truth was.
That was difficult, Prutz.
It was difficult, but it does mean
guys.
the speedboat is going to Garry Birtles. 17 points to 15.
Well played, my friend.
Well done, Garry. You hated the quiz,
I think he got your hardest question till the last. He thought, right, I'm going to let Gaz win, but I give the question that he's got no chance of getting.
But he stuck me in with that, which is fair enough. And if I'm going to lose to someone, as I've said it many a time, mate, if I'm going to lose to someone that's actually won proper medals, then that's absolutely fine by me.
Well, the other game is going to be the Yeovil game where you got sent off. I thought that was too cruel to
I mean, and again, from a team naming point of view, I can tell you who I fouled twice, which was Nathan Jones. But other than that, no.
Well, congratulations to Garry, another win in the Birtles career.
You're very kind to an old man.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. How are we spending Christmas? Family, I suppose, is it? I know I've asked you that before, Prutz. Bit of family around, bit of TV.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, we all go day by day with regards to what comes out of a certain part of London, don't we? So maybe that'll change. I sincerely hope it doesn't. But hoping to make it as normal as possible. What about you guys? Is it hopefully going to be as normal as possible for you?
Well, that's all you can do, isn't it? That's all you can hope for. Just got to, go with the flow, haven't you?
True. Right. Thank you to everyone who has listened to the podcast this year. It's much appreciated. And thanks to everyone who's listened to this. We hope you all have a good Christmas, and we shall be back hopefully before the end of the year with one more episode. So enjoy the festive period, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks for listening.